I'm giving out one bet for every single fight this weekend at UFC Nashville. If you're new here, this isn't a prediction channel. We're not breaking down the fights and giving you who we think is going to win in each matchup. That's easy work when there's massive, massive favorites on every single card. Instead, we're going through every single fight and picking one bet to give to you guys. If you guys have been here since the inception of the show, you know we've absolutely crushed this the last 8 weeks. But 2 weeks ago, I had a losing week, and every time I have a losing week, I do a giveaway and give back to you guys. This week's winner is Lance-37. I dropped a comment under your comment on the last video. If you see this, drop me your address in the DMs. You can DM me on Instagram or get a hold of me on here. You are the giveaway winner. You're winning a ton of Ghost product. You're getting protein, energy drinks, hydration, all of the goods. Before we get into the fight breakdowns, if you do want to get my premium bets, just go to winnable.com/HOF picks. And if you use code Nashville, you're going to get them absolutely free if you're a new user for 5 days. The last fights we had were the PFL, 2 cards back to back. We went up over 6.5 units profit on those. So I'm feeling locked in. Been doing some good research on these fights to get some good bets going. And we're going to talk about some of them right now. With the very first fight on this card, Fatima Klein, Melissa Martinez. Look, this is women's MMA, and you're getting a minus 1,200. I don't like to see it. I don't think anybody likes to play odds that are, this big. It's absolutely ridiculous. But there's some big, not red flags, but there's going to be a level to the game of Fatima Klein that I don't think Melissa Martinez can necessarily match, and that's obviously in the grappling. While this thing's on the feet, Martinez likes to circle around the octagon. She frustrates her opponents because they can't hit her. But when Fatima can close the distance and put her up against the cage, I think the takedowns are going to come at ease, if I'm being honest. I mean, we saw Elise Reed be able to land 3 takedowns within like a minute in that third round against Melissa Martinez. She couldn't really control her, but look, Elise Reed isn't exactly a grappler or known for having crazy grappling and jiu-jitsu skills on the mat, whereas Fatima Klein is a good grappler. She has a submission game. She's going to be much bigger and stronger in the octagon on the night. So all of this, man, I'll make it short and simple. I'm looking at Fatima Klein to win this fight by submission or decision. Again, if she gets the fight to the mat, I think she's going to get control time for one, but I also think she's going to hunt the finish. She's coming off of a TKO victory in her last fight. I think she's hungry to do it again because with 2 finishes in a row in women's MMA at this level in the UFC, you're going to climb the ranks a lot more. Where does Melissa Martinez win this fight? Probably a point fighting match. If she's lucky enough to keep the fight standing, I don't think she's going to knock out Klein. So, yeah, minus 1,200 doesn't look like a great line, but at the end of the day, I do think Fatima Klein is getting her hand raised. Klein by submission or decision, it was around minus 220, so, not the best odds on that, but if you look at these lines, man, there's not a lot of great value anywhere. I think you can parlay that with something else on the card. That's what we're going with for this first fight on the card. All right, next up, Mike Davis, Mitch Ramirez. I was a little hesitant at first to play anything on the Mike Davis side just because, he fought Faraziem in his last fight and he didn't look very good. Pulling guard in the first round, looked extremely tired after 3 or 4 minutes, and that's just not like Mike Davis at all. And a lot of times Mike Davis will come into fights and he's not scared to stand there and trade shots with you because he's got some big power. His striking is pretty good. It's not like he's a slouch in the striking whatsoever. But if you look at his Instagram and you dive deeper into his camps, it looks like he's training the grappling side of things a hell of a lot more, a lot harder, and it looks like he's getting very, very good with it. We've seen him put guys in sneaky submissions. Even losing the fight to Faraziem, there was a moment he had a calf slicer. If Ziem wasn't super flexible, like he's busting that knee out and probably walking away with a submission win there. But looking at Mitch Ramirez on the other side, look, Ramirez hasn't shown much of a ground game at this level. What he is pretty tough, can eat somewhat of a shot. He's fought some big hitters like Carlos Prates and guys like that. But, Mitch Ramirez, if he keeps this fight standing and you can't put him away in the first 2 rounds, I think he's going to make it interesting round 3, just because I do believe his cardio should be a little bit better. When I'm looking at who should win, I think Mike Davis can hang with him at least on the feet through the first 2 rounds. But, if Mike Davis wants to try to get a takedown and can do it successfully and try to audit that ground game of a Mitch Ramirez, I think the submission opportunities are going to arise. And if you look, man, Mike Davis has attempted submissions in 3 of his last 4 fights, and he's landed takedowns in like 5 of his last 6, I believe. So, yeah, outside of that, you do have to worry about the injuries on the side of Mike Davis. That's what's leaving me a little bit hesitant from pulling the trigger, because I believe he admitted he went into the Farazian fight injured. There was a fresh coat of paint on his locker room door or room before he walked out for that fight, so he thought that made him tired, a little bit dizzy. And then what was it? Oh yeah, apparently the guy's got Lyme disease or had Lyme disease. I don't exactly know where he's at with all of that stuff, so that's what would make me hesitant. But I do believe at the end of the day, he's the better mixed martial artist, which is why I'm going to take Mike Davis to win the fight inside the distance, and I'm going to sprinkle on the submission at plus 300. I just think that he knows he's got to get a win, get back in the win column. What's the easiest path to victory against Mitch Ramirez, who's shown that he wants to keep fight standing, he's got some decent power, and if you're not careful, he'll sneak his way into fights. You go to the ground with him, man. And I think Mike Davis has the strength and ability to do so. So, for this fight, Mike Davis to win inside the distance, sprinkle on the submission at plus 300. That's my play. All right, before we get into this next fight, if you guys want to support me, the best way is to go and try to win yourself some money at Better Picks and just use code Nolan when you sign up. They're going to match your deposit 100%. So let's say you deposit $50. Better is going to give you an extra 50 to bet with. And it's one of the only DFS apps that you can win up to 100 times your money. So go try it out. I'm going to link it down below, but you can use code Nolan when you sign up as well. And just deposit $10, make an 8-leg lineup, and if all of them hit, you're walking away with $1,000. So $10 to $1,000, worth a try. It's a lot of fun while you're watching the fights. Better Picks. You download it at the App Store and use code Nolan when you do so. And back to the fights. We got a low-key banger. Walter Walker, Kennedy, and Nzechekwu. Oh, man. I've gone back and forth on this fight for a couple of reasons. I mean, Kennedy, he was a little up and down, had a roller coaster of a career at 205, 6'5" in the division, cut some weight to get down there, had some nasty knockout losses. But at heavyweight, he hasn't fought the best level of competition, but he's looking more like himself. He seems more relaxed in there. He's flowing more with his striking and just letting the fight come to him instead of trying to force things and getting tired or getting clipped. I think heavyweight is a good home for Kennedy, a guy who's 6'5". Not a naturally super heavy guy, but definitely, without the weight cut to 205, I think we're going to see better and better versions of him. But on the other side, Walter Walker kind of has the game that could be detrimental to Kennedy. If Kennedy gets put on his back, I think Walter will have success, can rack up some control time because he's a big, strong guy who has good grappling, who has good submissions. But, if he has to, I think he could also, get into a dominant position, be patient, and he's going to win a lot of minutes in this fight. However, we've seen Walter beat by guys like Lucas Dresky. Not a great look, in my opinion. We've seen him kind of touched up on the feet, and if he can't get takedowns, I worry what's going to happen against a skilled striker like a Kennedy and Nzechekwu. So, this one's kind of cut and dry for me. If you want to play both sides, like if I'm on Walter Walker, I think there's value on his money line here. Probably not any closer to plus 150 and down. I think if it's staying at plus 160, 170, getting close to plus 200 in your fight night, I think it's probably dog or pass if you're playing the money line. But a play that I really like in this spot is just this fight to end inside the distance at minus 150. You're getting the best of both worlds. If Walter does get the takedowns and he's going to be looking for heel hooks and submissions, and he could definitely pull it off. We've seen him do it before. You're covering his side there. But if he gets caught on the feet with a Kennedy, Kennedy is long, hits hard, good knees up the middle for guys who are shooting takedowns on him, and Walter can be hittable. Walter's got a big negative striking differential, means he's getting hit with a lot more significant strikes than he's landing. I think Kennedy's going to be live for the knockout. Walter will slow down a little bit too if he starts to get tired, that mouth's open, breathing heavy. Kennedy's not a guy you want to be eating big shots later in fights against too. So this fight to end inside the distance, I think you pretty well cover both sides and both guys. So Yeah, I think that's what we're going to rock with in this fight. I expect somebody getting their hand raised in a pretty fun fashion, but also making a statement in this heavyweight division as they try to climb the ranks. All right, next fight, Eduarda Moura versus Lauren Murphy. Look, Lauren Murphy has taken 2 years off, or a year and a half to 2 years off. Her last time we saw her was against Jessica Andrade, where she got beat to a pulp for 15 minutes. Showed that she's tough, showed that she's durable. I mean, Jessica Andrade didn't have to go to any grappling. You know, Lauren Murphy historically is a pretty good boxer. Okay, she's got good striking, can hang with the best of them. But I think a little bit of her age, the speed wasn't there against Andrade. That really came back and hurt her in that matchup. And like I said, that's 2 years ago. Lauren Murphy is now 41 years old. And you're getting a girl in Moura who's still trying to prove herself. She's younger. She's got a well-rounded game. At least I think it's getting better and more well-rounded. Her striking is definitely the part that needs to come along still. But in her last fight, like, she landed some good combinations. She's showing that she's improving. And while this thing is on the mat, if it gets to the mat, Eduarda Moura is going to be far more skilled. I think Lauren Murphy's, historically had decent takedown defense and get back to her feet. But Eduarda Moura is big for the division. She's strong, she's younger, she's faster, and more explosive. I expect her to mix in the takedowns here. I think the only way that Murphy's really winning this fight is that if Eduarda Moura just empties the gas tank looking for a finish early or going for the takedowns, and Murphy gradually starts stuffing them and works her way back into the fight. It's like Eduarda Moura wins round 1, round 2 is super close, and Lauren Murphy wins round 3. I think that's what you're banking on if you're on Lauren Murphy here. But I do think Moura, younger, explosive, like I mentioned, I think she's the one who gets her hand raised. There's not much value taking a minus 625 on Moura here in women's MMA against a girl who's fought very high level competition. But I'm going to take Eduarda Moura by submission or decision. That way to get these odds a lot further down, better value, better price. At the end of the day, I don't think Moura's knocking out Murphy if Jessica Andrade beat her to a pulp and couldn't finish her. But I think there is going to be some moments where Moura's looking for the neck, looking to get on top, take the back. And if not, I think she's going to win a lot of minutes in this fight, do a little bit more damage. So Eduarda Moura, submission or decision, that's going to be the official play for this fight. Next up, an absolute banger, Chidi Nzechekwu taking on Jake Matthews. Chidi has completely turned around his career, right? He was at 185, up and down, struggling, got hurt, got finished a few times, and he used to fight at welterweight. The cuts were terrible. That's why he talks funny now. His voice is a lot different. Really kind of had some negative side effects to his everyday life, cutting down to 170. But after that stretch at 185, he's back down at welterweight. Obviously has a nutritionist or a dietitian or somebody helping him make these cuts and rehydrate properly. And he's looked pretty damn good. I mean, his last fight against Zaleski dos Santos, a lot of people thought that Zaleski dos Santos could get the grappling going, and if he was able to do so, he was going to have a lot of success and potentially finish or win that fight. Chidi knocked him out in round 2 with a nasty knee. Before that, he beat up Jared Gooden for 3 rounds, outstruck him 105-20. And, Jared Gooden injured in the hospital a day or two before the fight, wasn't 100%. But, Chidi just fought a really good game plan, exactly what you have to do to a guy who's reckless, dangerous like Jared Gooden. And before that, beat Reese McKee. It was a split decision, but that fight wasn't even close to a split decision, man. So, yeah, Chidi's on this little run right now. However, Zaleski dos Santos is near 40 years old. Jared Gooden cut from the UFC and retired. Reese McKee in the UFC had a stint, got cut, and now he's back, and he just got the Contender Series. Outside of that, he's not really beaten anybody in the UFC. So you could say the level of competition is either older or not quite there, but Chidi has shown to have very, very good skills. He used to get taken down all the time, put on his back, and that's how you would beat him. But, he's shown that his get-up game's getting a little bit better. Zaleski dos Santos landed a takedown. Chidi got back up. Jared Gooden landed a couple, got back up, won the fight. So they're showing promise there. That's really the only thing he's ever had to work on in his game, because the Muay Thai is great. The clinch work, insane. The knees, the elbows, everything is there. Does tons of damage. He's got the full package as far as the striking goes. For Jake Matthews across from him, a good boxer, decent wrestling, been up and down, though, in the UFC. You look at his loss. He's losing to guys like Sean Brady, no sweat off your back. I can live with that kind of loss. The one that really makes me a question, was the Matthew Simmelsberger loss, where he was outstruck 45-32. He got taken down 3 times. He got dropped 3 times. Not a great look, considering Simmelsberger after that got knocked out bad by Charles Radke, lost to Preston Parsons, lost to Uros Medic, lost to Jeremiah Wells, back to back to back to back after Jake Matthews. So don't like to see that whatsoever. I think Jake Matthews, he wins fights against guys who don't have great takedown defense, and he can mix in the wrestling, or the younger guys who are still trying to improve and round out their game a little bit, like a Francisco Prado. He's going to beat those guys. But the Chidi and Jaquanis of the world, tons of experience as well, dangerous striking. We know Jake Matthews can get dropped, can get hurt, can get finished. It makes it hard to go against Chidi in this spot. But this line's very, very close, and it's making me hesitant enough to where I think I'm just going to take this fight to end inside the distance, end by finish. Maybe you could take Chidi money line if the price starts dipping down a little bit closer to even money. But right now, I mean, for the same price, fight ends by finish. I think Chidi has knockout upside in this spot. Chidi's also got some decent submissions if Jake Matthews tries to go to the wrestling to offset that huge reach disadvantage he's going to have and height disadvantage if he can't get his striking going and Jake Matthews goes to the wrestling. You got to watch out for the guillotines from Chidi and submissions like that. But, on the same page, we've seen Chidi cut up. We've seen him hurt before. And Jake Matthews, like I said, has a little bit of pop and good boxing. And if he gets the fight to the ground, he lands some nasty ground and pound, could potentially find a finish too. So this, instead of taking a fight or taking a side where I'm undecided, it's hard to pick, I'm just going to go with this fight to end inside the distance. I think there's a good enough chance that happens compared to just trying to guess who's going to get their hand raised at the end of the fight. So, yep, give me the fight inside the distance, and we will move on to the next one, which is Chris Curtis taking on Max Griffin. I got some thoughts about this fight. For one, I think Chris Curtis should get his hand raised here, but minus 325 is not the price I'm wanting to play a Chris Curtis at, who's a little bit older. Now, granted, his opponent, Max Griffin, is also pushing 40 years old and is a little bit older than Chris Curtis. It's just Chris Curtis is cutting down to 170 here, which is a weight class I think he should have been at probably all along in the UFC. We saw him fight at 170 in PFL. At 185, he's just 5'10", doesn't have the biggest reach. And, for as good as his boxing is, sometimes the size disadvantage would hurt him at that weight class, and he couldn't quite get it going, and maybe the power wasn't quite translating. Where at 170, if he has a good weight cut, is 100% healthy, and just lets his hands go and digs to the body against Max Griffin here, I think he's going to beat him in every aspect. I mean, Max Griffin probably not going to go out there and outbox a Chris Curtis, especially at 39 years old. Is Max Griffin going to go out there and take down Chris Curtis and get the grappling going, wrestling going? I don't really think so. I mean, Chris Curtis at 185 pounds racked up an 82% takedown defense, which is solid for as many fights as he's got in the UFC. So, yeah, I mean, if this thing gets stuck on the feet, Chris Curtis lands 6.16 significant strikes per minute, attempts nearly 13 or over 13 significant strikes per minute. I think that's pretty good. Striking defense at 53% compared to Max Griffin, who, lands basically half of that at 3.7 significant strikes per minute. So, I mean, you put 2 and 2 together, unless Griffin's just dishing out massive significant strikes and haymakers and just doing way more damage, I think Chris Curtis is going to be the one who's landing more frequently. I also think Chris Curtis probably hits harder, being the 185er coming down here. I like the body work. I think it could slow Max Griffin down. I mean, we saw Max Griffin just got wore down by Michael Chiesa, only landed 10 significant strikes in that match, which and those only a couple takedowns too. So, yeah, I just don't think Max Griffin is what he once was. Split decision over Jeremiah Wells. I don't think Wells is that good. I think he's explosive, has a little power, and that's it. So going up against Chris Curtis, I expect Curtis to get the striking going. Probably going to look a little bit better, land a little bit more, do a little bit more damage. Ultimately, get his hand raised. I think you just take him as a parlay piece. Don't love the price, though. Not big on it here. And, for me, I think if you want a prop to get a better price, you just take Chris Curtis by decision. Max Griffin's notoriously been pretty tough. And Chris Curtis isn't out there, overextending, looking for the big knockout shots. He's a very fluid and disciplined striker who's not going to chase knockouts just to get one. He's going to put a game plan together, throw out some volume, show good striking. Chris Curtis by decision is another play for this fight. All right. Oh, next fight up, we are getting an interesting one I've seen people going back and forth on. Junior Tafa versus Tokkos. And right off the bat, man, you'll notice this picture of Junior Tafa right here is from when he was at heavyweight. This guy has cut down to 205, and I think it's a brilliant move on his part. He wasn't the most in shape or out of shape heavyweight, but you could tell he had a little bit of room to trim down, get to a lower weight class where he's going to be able to deal with these guys a little easier than trying to stuff takedowns from guys who are 250, 260. That's a tough ask for a guy who's not a massive heavyweight and a guy who wants the fight on the feet and wants it, in the striking department. So I think the big back and forth on this fight online so far that I've seen is that Tokkos is somewhat of a grappler, has decent wrestling, or at least on the regional scene would go to the wrestling to get fights to the ground and has some submissions to his name. And that's what's been the killer for Junior Tafa. The only difference, Tokkos, a 205er. He's not a 260-pound man looking to take Junior Tafa down. And if you look at pictures of Junior Tafa making this cut to 205, the guy looks shredded. Looks like he's put in some serious work to get down to this weight class. And that's what I like seeing rather than fighters moving up. A guy who should be a 205er putting in the work to make sure he can get there successfully. And it looks like he's done that, which tells me he's had to put a lot of time in the gym to get ready for this fight, to get ready for the weight class. And, compared to a Tokkos who's winless in the UFC, hasn't really fought the highest level of competition. Fought Navajo Sterling, who's only been fighting a couple of years. And who else was it? Oh, Umar C. When C took him down, eventually got the submission. I mean, we just saw Umar C struggle and lose to Alonzo Minifield, a guy he should have been faster than. He should have been able to do whatever he wanted in that matchup, and he just couldn't. So, yeah, those are Tokkos' first two fights in the UFC, and now you're getting a guy who formerly fought in Glory, in that weight class. I'm not sure the level of competition, but at one point I believe he was ranked in the top 20. So, yeah, I mean, if this fight's standing, Junior Tafa is going to take over, and he's going to land big shots, possibly and probably going to find a knockout. If he gets taken down at this new weight class, being naturally bigger and stronger, I think he's going to pop back up. And if he doesn't, I don't think Tokkos is a dominant submission grappler to where he's just going to have a heyday with submission attempts and finally find one. So I'm taking Junior Tafa on the money line here. I do believe, all things considered, a knockout could present itself, and if it doesn't, he's going to land way more damage. I think Tokkos is going to eat a few shots and just be shooting for his life. And, as he does not get those takedowns, if he doesn't get them, I think he's going to tire out and he's going to leave himself open for even bigger shots coming back his way. So, yeah, give me Junior Tafa on the money line. That is going to be my official play for this fight. Former NFL player Austin Lane, now against Vitor Petrino, a guy who's on a 2-fight skid, fights that a lot of people thought that he should not have lost. And if you look at the betting odds on those last two fights, the books agreed that he was heavily favored and should have won against Anthony Smith and Dustin Jacoby. Against Anthony Smith, the guy was like minus 450, minus 500, gets submitted in round one. And he's a minus 300, minus 275-ish against Dustin Jacoby. And he's probably winning the fight. It's close enough. Not a lot happening in the grand scheme of things. And just gets knocked out flat in round number 3. I don't know if he was just coasting or too content and let his guard down or what. But Dustin Jacoby, hometown guy from where I'm from, the guy is no joke on the feet. He's as good as it gets at 205 in the striking department and with the kickboxing. So, you're going from a guy of that caliber to an Anthony Smith who fought John Jones for titles to now a former NFL player in Austin Lane who, what is his game really? Yes, he took down Robles de Spain and wrestled him up. Robles de Spain had no idea what to do in the wrestling and grappling department. Other than that, he's getting knocked out by Mario Pinto. He's getting knocked out by Jonata Denise. He's getting knocked out by Justin Tafa. He beat Richard Jacoby on the Contender Series, and he lost to Greg Hardy by knockout on the Contender Series. Those are his fights. Not the best level of competition, and he's lost to a lot of guys that are, never going to be world beaters in the UFC. So Vitor Petrino, another thing I got to note, he's moving up a weight class in this fight, and that's going to make it a little bit interesting. I'm excited to see what he looks like at heavyweight. He's not cutting weight down and depleting himself. He's going to be ready to go. He's a big, physical, strong guy as it is, so I don't think he's going to I don't think it's going to be bad at heavyweight whatsoever. He's already 6'2". Austin Lane, the big thing for him is going to be the size, 6'6", 245, athletic. It's just the guy is extremely hittable. He doesn't have really a submission game when, he gets fights to the ground. I mean, what are you going to go out there and out-wrestle Petrino? Maybe for a few minutes until you get tired, but while it's on the feet, I think Petrino is going to stay safe, and I do think he's going to land some big shots eventually, hopefully finishing him, because that's the play I'm going with on this fight. You're getting another minus 750, a massive favorite. Nothing, I wouldn't parlay it. I wouldn't do anything on the money line. But Petrino by finish at least gets you down there in the minus 200 range. So that's what it's going to be for me. Austin Lane, when he loses fights, man, he's losing in brutal fashion. And Petrino, we've seen put people on ice before too. Although it was at 205, that's one thing you got to consider. I just think, he's a hard hitter for 205. Power should translate, not cutting weight. And Austin Lane just can't take a great punch. And all those knockout losses are adding up. So yeah, I'm taking Petrino by finish in this spot. All right. Nate the Train in the UFC. Nate Landwehr taking on Morgan Charriere. Oh, man, I've been back and forth on this fight for a couple of reasons. One, Nate Landwehr, Clarksville? Tennessee, like right in that area of Nashville. He's going to be the hometown guy. I don't think anybody will get a bigger pop from the crowd walking out to the octagon than Nate the Train in the UFC Nashville. Another thing, I mean, when guys are super skilled, throw good volume, and can hit Nate, he will struggle at times. His chin is not made of granite. We've seen him hurt. We've seen him finish before. But, for Morgan Charriere, the frustrating thing with him has been the volume. Yes, he's got a little bit of power. We saw him land a kick to the body against, I don't even remember his name. He's not in the UFC anymore. And he finished that fight very early. But that's his only win in the UFC. He then fought Chepe Mariscal. And although some people thought he won the fight, I picked Morgan and bet Morgan to win that fight. I thought Chepe won. I won't argue with you there. He beat Gabriel Miranda. That's his second win. Sorry, he's 2-2 in the UFC. He beat Gabriel Miranda, but Gabriel Miranda just got beat badly by what's his name, Jamal Emmers. And Jamal's another guy who's had kind of a roller coaster up and down, lost to guys he shouldn't have. So, for Morgan, losing to Nathaniel Wood and getting dropped, not a great look considering, Morgan's supposed to be this great kickboxer, great striking. He got outlanded 72-42, kind of froze up in that fight. Chepe Mariscal outlanded him 71-49, mixed in a takedown there. Nate Landwehr is a guy that if you fight him at range, you're going to have a chance to make it close, and you're going to have the chance to touch him up. But if he gets in your face and he starts backing you up and you start to get a little bit tired and frustrated, he makes it a grueling fight for you. I mean, just ask David Onama. David Onama had him hurt in the first round, had him almost out of there, and Nate stuck with it, came back, fought like a dog, was taunting him in that third round, getting the crowd involved, just showing that he is a junkyard dog. That's the style he brings. And I don't really think that's the style of fight that Morgan's going to want. I mean, this crowd is going to be yelling for Landwehr, getting in the head of Morgan Charriere. That's my concern for Morgan here. Now, on a skill-for-skill basis, while this fight is standing, Morgan's going to be the crisper striker. He's going to be faster, probably hits harder at this stage. If they go to the grappling, I think Morgan's got some decent grappling, but it's Nate Landwehr who we've seen pull off some submissions in the UFC. He submitted Ludovic Klein. That's a feat by Anaconda choke. He submitted Austin Lingo. I mean, this guy can pull off finishes kind of out of nowhere. So that's another thing you got to be careful. If Charriere is not liking getting hit or backed up and tries to go to the grappling, Nate's going to be live there too. For Nate, though, I mean, the one thing that could let him down is definitely the chin. If Morgan can find the chin, I mean, he's definitely got a path to win this fight by knockout. But in Tennessee, it seems too good to be true. I'm going to take Nate Landwehr plus 3.5 spread, meaning he's just got to win one round. I mean, if a round is close and you got to listen to the crowd going crazy every time Nate even just throws a punch, it's got to sway the judges a little bit, you would think. It's going to look like Nate's winning the round when, if it's close, some might give it to Charriere. The crowd's going to sway him to give it to Nate. Maybe that's a bad theory. I just think, especially as this fight goes on, Nate's going to make it interesting and can win just one round on the judges' scorecards without getting finished. That's all we need. I just look at Nate, listen to him talk. You really think he's going to get knocked out in Nashville? Maybe, but I don't really see it happening this week. So I think that spread bet at, getting closer to right at plus money, I think that's a decent play on this fight. And it's also another fight you kind of want to, from another, I guess, perspective, I think the jury's still out on what Morgan Charriere is going to bring in the UFC. So if you do want to pass on a fight, I think you can pass and just sit back and watch this one unfold and see where Charriere's at and see what where Nate's at as well, considering he just got beat up and finished against Doo Ho Choi in his last fight. So we'll take the spread on Nate, but should be a banger either way. All right. Feature fight of the night, Calvin Kattar, Steve Garcia. Another fight I've gone back and forth on because Calvin Kattar has struggled recently. What is he? Lost 4 of his last 5 fights, but a lot of the fights he's losing, I mean, this grappler's like Aljamain Sterling, who, if you don't have phenomenal grappling, he's going to expose you. He's going to do his thing, and that's exactly what happened. He lost to Yusuf Zalal. Zalal's on a tear right now, and Zalal just basically ran around the outside of the cage and had a little point fighting match. Arnold Allen, Calvin Kattar got hurt. Josh Emmett, split decision loss for Calvin Kattar there after outlanding him 130 to 107. It was just Josh Emmett landing the bigger shots in that spot. And then he beat Giga Chikadze before that, lost to Max Holloway before that. So, for Calvin, he's getting a little bit older, obviously. He's taken a lot of damage in the last 3 to 4 years, and he's had a big ACL injury that required surgery. And, you put all of those things together, it makes me question where he's at in his career too, especially going up against the Steve Garcia, who is kind of that junkyard dog type of killer be killed type of style. And we've seen Steve Garcia put out on his face, but he's not going to go out without trying to put your lights out as well. I do think that, Steve Garcia on this nasty, 5 now? 5-fight win streak, all by knockout. Making this jump up in competition against Calvin Kattar, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him try to take his time a little bit and really get the hang of Kattar striking and seeing what it's like before he goes in there and just starts to blitz all out, because Kattar does have some good counters. He's very seasoned. He's an absolute veteran in the striking department especially, and those are guys you got to be careful with. You got to take your time and really have a good game plan, or those vets are going to hand you a loss, especially being a big jump up in competition. So do I think Kattar can pull this off? I think he can definitely win this fight. I mean, this is a better stylistic matchup than a lot of his past opponents, being that Steve Garcia is going to want to make it fun. He's going to want to stand in the middle, and Calvin Kattar has the technical advantage here. But taking all the damage he has, the ACL injury, being able to get taken down, I mean, Steve Garcia possesses all the tools here to maybe give Kattar his first knockout loss, to definitely hang with him and, fight his all for 15 minutes, but also maybe mix in a takedown or two. We've seen Steve Garcia hang with some decent, he had to take down Charlie Ontiveros 3 times. He will go to the wrestling if he has to. He likes to put you against the cage where he's very physically strong. So, all those things considered, it's hard to pick a side in this fight, but being that it's a step up, like I said, I think Garcia will take his time more. I think Garcia is tough enough to hang with Kattar's power. And those reasons, I'm going to take the over 1.5 rounds in this fight. I think both these guys are good enough in the striking department to drag this on a little bit. And I'm not confident that Garcia or Kattar, I'm not super confident on either side to give a money line play in this fight. But again, this is a guy in Kattar who's never been knocked out in the UFC. It's a guy in Garcia who, yes, he gets dropped and hurt, but he always fights through it. I think he could dog it out past 7.5 minutes as well. So those are the reasons I'm going with over 1.5 in this fight. Shout out to one of the sponsors of the show, Legendz Sportsbook and Casino. This is an online sportsbook, super fun. They've got all the lines and odds and props you could think of for the UFC and other sports, but They've also got the casino portion, live blackjack with dealers. They've got slots. It's tons of fun. You can buy coins worth that you can cash in for money, but they also give you daily free coins that you can play absolutely free. So if you like to go in, mess around, have a good time, Legendz Sportsbook and Casino is going to be for you. I will link it down below. You guys got to check this out. It's illegal everywhere, and it's an absolute blast. All right, boys. We are in the co-main event now. Almost done with this breakdown already. Wonderboy taking on Gabriel Bonfim. Man, I would love to see Wonderboy turn back the clock just one more time and get a win here. And yes, he looked pretty good against Buckley, especially in, I believe, was it the first round he won? It was the first or second. It was a close fight. But look, at range, Wonderboy Thompson is going to be hard to deal with for anybody, even being over 40 years old, okay? The kicks are really, really good. You know, the hands, not as powerful as they once were by any means, but his ability to manage distance and, you know, keep the range is what keeps him in fights and makes it very, very close. Used to have a little bit more knockout power back in the day. He's also been, absolutely demolished on the feet a few times in his career, especially as of late, like we saw against Buckley in round 3. We've also seen him submitted in the UFC level, and when he's losing fights, really, it's when guys can get him to the ground and, beat him on the mat, which I think is what Gabriel Bonfim is going to have to do. You know, Bonfim lost to another older guy in Nicholas Dalby, but Dalby has insane pressure and insane cardio, complete different style than Wonderboy, and I think Bonfim probably took a lot from that loss, got better, improved the things he had to improve upon, and it just made him a better all-around mixed martial artist. But, you know, against a guy like Wonderboy, if Wonderboy goes to the kicks, I mean, he runs the risk of getting him caught and then taken down from there, you know, off balance. Bonfim grabs one leg, gets the trip, gets the takedown. And I really think that Bonfim, you know, not the best wrestler, not going to look to just lay and pray. He's going to look to get to a dominant position. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's going to, kind of position over submission. And he's just going to let you either make a mistake or he's going to take his time until he is winning the round for sure, looking for submission opportunities. And he's very good when those present itself. I mean, he's got a great guillotine, good anaconda, ninja chokes. I mean, we've seen him hit a Von Flue against Trey Waters. The guy is very, very skilled. And, you know, when I look at, you know, Wonderboy getting taken down by Kevin Holland twice, Kevin Holland chose to get back to his feet in that match, or Holland's probably looking for submission attempts there as well. And we saw Shavkat submit Wonderboy Thompson. Gilbert Burns took him down 3 times. He's not, off limits to get taken down and controlled here. And now you got a Bonfim, way younger, hits hard on the feet too. But, you know, if Wonderboy just makes one single mistake, Bonfim's going to jump on the neck. I was on Wonderboy originally earlier in the week, but I really do think this is going to be Bonfim probably getting his hand raised. But the play that I like in this fight is Bonfim Thompson to end inside the distance. Because for one, you cover the knockout that Bonfim could potentially get early. Covers the submission for Bonfim as well. If he gets one takedown, the submission attempts are going to come. And it also covers Bonfim gassing out, getting tired like we've kind of seen in past fights, and Wonderboy being able to use the kicks, land big shots, maybe get an attritional type of finish or a late finish. Either way, I don't really care as long as this fight ends inside the distance. This fight's end by finish, official play for the co-main event. All right, main event time, boys. I would be shocked if we don't see a finish in this one, and the odds will tell you that's what's going to happen as well. Taliesin Teixeira taking on Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Now, Lewis, the main thing that jumps off the page is that he's got the most knockouts ever at UFC heavyweight. I mean, he's got 30 UFC fights now, so much experience, fought the highest level guys, has beaten Francis Ngannou. I mean, this guy has beat champions, fought former champions, current champions, the whole 9 yard. But listen, Taliesin Teixeira, here's what makes me nervous for him. And a couple things that make me excited to watch his career progress. 6'7", good striking, good kickboxing, apparently very good on the mat with the jiu-jitsu. But this is his second UFC fight. Okay, he went in there against Justin Tafa, landed a nut shot, then an elbow to the chin, and dropped him and finished it. I mean, before that, he was getting backed up by a guy who weighed 220 pounds and was 6'1" on the Contender Series until he found that knockout. And now he's going in front of a live crowd, UFC Nashville. The whole crowd probably on Derek Lewis. I've been to a couple Derek Lewis fights. The crowd, no matter who he's fighting, is on Derek Lewis. And, second fight in the UFC, and you're putting this role, main event, it's a lot of pressure. And, I just don't know how a Texeira is going to respond to that just yet. I mean, maybe he responds fine, goes out there, fights his game plan, stays composed, finds the big knockout shot. Could definitely happen. But, if he does start to get tired, just a little bit tired, and he hasn't found that big knockout yet, Derek Lewis is going to be swinging. He gets tired, but he will swing for a full 25 minutes if he has to. However, I don't really think it's going to get there. My play for this fight, don't really want to mess with Texeira as a big favorite in his second UFC fight in a main event. Don't really want to touch Derek Lewis because he is older, getting closer to retirement in his final stages of his UFC career. But I do think this fight ends in round 1 or round 2 at a very high clip. So round 1, this fight to end in round 1 is minus 160. Round 2, plus 380. Like I've done in the past, and we've hit these. We hit one last week with Jacoby Smith, plus 400 round 2. I mean, you just allocate your money to where no matter which one of these rounds hit, you're making money. And that's what I'm going to do in this spot. I can't really find a bet that I'm really confident in outside of that. I just don't think this thing gets past 2 rounds. Somebody gets a finish in round 1, we hit money. Round 2, we hit money. That's, I think, how you have to play this. Sit back and watch, though, if you want to pass on this fight, because you're going to see a future heavyweight prospect in Texeira, and you're going to see the strides and improvements he's made to get to this point, fighting an ultra vet in Derek Lewis. Should be a lot of fun. It's a good main event. The crowd's going to be hyped. Heavyweight knockout artist, you can't go wrong. That's the breakdown for UFC Nashville. Once again, I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you want to get all of my premium bets, don't forget it's winnable.com/HOFpicks. Use code Nashville. New users will get a free trial. All of my bets, Hey Jive Picks bets, completely free with that trial. Just absolutely crushed PFL last week. Itching for a UFC card. We're finally getting one. I think we're going to hit it big on this one too. Make sure to get those bets. If you guys do want to support me, better DFS. Use code Nolan, 100% deposit match bonus. Just deposit $10. See if you can hit an 8-legger for plus 1,100 extra money. Be a big payday if you can do so. The best way to support me is to try to put money in your own pocket. Code Nolan on Better Picks. Appreciate you guys all being here. We're going to get that ghost giveaway out to the winner. And if we don't do good on this card, we'll do another giveaway every single time. Man of my word, we'll either give away money, we'll give away ghost products, we'll give away something. I'll make it worth your while. Thank you guys for being here. We're getting more and more views every single week. I think last card was UFC 317 was my biggest video to date. Super pumped about that. Still almost to that 10K views mark on a single video. I think the last couple have been over 9,000. So hopefully this one gets pushed out there. Drop a like, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button, and turn on your post notifications so you can be alerted every time this video drops. We will see you guys in the next video for UFC 318. Let's make some money this weekend at Nashville.